Star Wars. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Level Start Podcast, part of the Play Legit Network, your only source for gaming and real talk. And this month, it's a whole Star Wars episode, because you know what? The Force Awakens has come out. So in this episode, we're going to be talking almost all things Star Wars, with a few extra little things here and there. But for the most part, Star Wars-centric episode. So without further ado, let's get right into it. First of all, I've been playing a lot of the Star Wars Uprising mobile game. And Star Wars Uprising is actually kind of a refreshing take on Star Wars, as well as for a mobile game. I personally haven't been in the mobile game scene thus far, but with Star Wars Uprising, I've actually really been enjoying myself, kind of getting in there with the different little power-ups that you can do with your character as you've unfolded in this universe, and just kind of play and have fun. It's simple, it's easy, but it's enough, for me, while being on the go, just to kind of pick it up a little bit and play a little mission, do a little thing here, upgrade a little thing there. Haven't spent any other money on it, so it's been quite nice. I personally would recommend it if you like Star Wars, if you like something that's simple, you don't need anything too overbearing or dramatic. Star Wars Uprising, for me, is a lot of fun. KJ has Galactic Heroes for you. So check out Star Wars Galactic Heroes from KJ. So KJ, take it away. What do you got?
So check this out, fam. Today we're talking about Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Free to play RPG. Just because it's free, is it worth a download? Or maybe it's worth a disc. We're going to dive in just a little bit. This is like an all-star game to me. The roster is just major. All the big characters. We're talking about characters from Star Wars Rebels. Characters from Star Wars The Clone Wars series. Characters from the movies, of course. And different variants of those characters. So there'll be a Stormtrooper Han Solo. Regular Han Solo. Luke Skywalker from A New Hope, relying on the blaster. Versus Luke Skywalker with the saber later on. So you get the different variants. And they also just recently added the characters from The Force Awakens. So we're talking about Kylo Ren. We're talking about Finn. And we're talking about Rey, of course. And Poe Dameron also. So Captain Phasma. But the thing about all these characters, you start off with cool characters because it's Star Wars. So there's going to be cool characters. But the thing is, to get the really, really nice characters, you're going to have to put in hours upon hours upon hours. Unless you want to pay. And they have premium bundles, of course. I saw a bundle that guarantees you Force Awakens characters and experience points and such. But they're talking about $99.99. So I think there's a lot of things people can do better with their money than spending it on these characters that have a few animations. And I mean, it's cool to play as them for a little bit, but I mean, it's going to get old a little bit after a while, so I don't see why you would want to spend that much money. If you like the gameplay, you might as well just grind it out and just work to get these characters. They also have the special modes where you can mix and match, so you can have the light side and the dark all on the same squad. And so they mix it up like that. But then there's also light side battles, dark side battles, and of course you're forced to fight on whatever side that is. And that's really cool because let me tell you something, they take you to a bunch of different stages from the prequels to the new series. I haven't seen the Force Awakens stage. I don't know if that's coming. It probably will be coming since they added those characters just recently. So I would expect that. I expect more additions. But with those additions, they want this. And the gameplay is solid. It's fun. It's cool to see these characters, the sights and sounds. I like the visuals and such. It's really cool for a mobile game. The pace of the game is pretty cool too. It's just like you can hit auto also. If you're not even trying to play, you can just hit auto and let them do the work. I don't know. But if I'm going to do that, I'm definitely not going to be spending $99.99 on something like that. So that's what it is. And ultimately, I think the game is fun enough where even if you don't have the main characters, you can still get some mileage out of it, especially if you're a big enough Star Wars fan. So ultimately, it's barely getting it, but I would say go ahead and download Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes.
Alright guys, speaking of mobile games, our CoinOp question for the month was, what are some of your favorite Android and iOS mobile games. So let us know what you think, and here are some thoughts from others on their answer of what is their favorite iOS and Android mobile game. Check these out. This week we don't have a screenshot explosion, or this month I should say, we don't have a screenshot explosion, but send in your screenshots. We will put them on the show. We will do screenshot segments of your favorite moments in games. So send us your screenshots at playlegit.net. Hashtag playlegit. And now, without further ado, let's get in to Star Wars The Force Awakens. I am an avid Star Wars fan. I love Star Wars. I mean, I got TIE fighters, I got action figures and miniatures and all kinds of stuff. I've got big bins in storage just full of just toys that I've collected over the years growing up, right? Love Star Wars. Read books, comics, video games. So you can say that I love Star Wars. So, as most of you probably know, Disney has nixed the expanded universe as having anything to do with canon. So, having said that, I allowed myself to go into this new movie with no expectations of anything other than what I've already seen from the movies. So with that in mind, my outcome from this film has been pretty good. There have been some real diehard fans that were expecting a lot more, maybe some hints, or maybe something borrowing from the EU, which they kind of did a little bit. There was a little bit thrown in there, some ideas and concepts from the EU. But to be honest with you, they're doing their own thing. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Hunter, there's a lot of plot recycling. Well, spoiler alert right here. I'm just going to say spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the film and you don't want to be spoiled, stop watching right now. Just go watch one of our other videos. Anything. Just stop. Then come back once you've seen it. Okay. You good? For those of you who are still here? Okay, so spoilers ahead. So yes, there's a lot of plot recycling. They do use some similar plot devices from previous Star Wars movies. Personally, I think that was a smart move. I think playing it safe with Star Wars was better than not, like they did with Star Trek. As a lot of avid sci-fi Trek fans will tell you, the new Trek films really don't keep true with the tone and theme of what Star Trek was all about. And the plot of those films, even though they're fun to watch and they're in-your-face action and they're fun, and Simon Pegg is great in those films as Scotty, because I love Simon Pegg. A lot of the other actors are really great in those films. I love the cast, personally. Just what they did with the Star Trek movies kind of really didn't do it for a lot of the fans. So with Star Wars, that's something that so many people know and love. And I think playing it safe with this first movie back into this universe was good. And they explored some things just a little bit too. So, were there secrets that were hidden inside of a droid in this one, like in A New Hope? Yes. Were they plans to a big base? No. They were plans to go find Skywalker. Okay, that's fine. I have no problem with that. I mean, anybody could hide something inside of a droid, right? Like, droids exist in this universe. Whatever. I don't care. That doesn't bother me. Is there a new Death Star, though? More or less. They call it Starkiller Base, which is, like, really big. Much bigger than the Death Star. But, I was okay with it. I mean, there was a few things that they didn't really explain about Starkiller Base that were kind of making me go, well, oh, wait a minute, I'm not entirely sure I understand how this works. But then again, I really didn't entirely understand how the Death Star worked. I mean, the Death Star, theoretically, well, I mean, it did. It flew through hyperspace. That's something the size of a moon going through hyperspace that could go from planet to planet with one little laser beam and blow up an entire planet into tiny little chunks. How it does it instantaneously, I don't know. but it's science fiction, science fantasy. You know, a lot of things that happen in there aren't gonna like work in real life anyway. So I allow myself to realize science fiction, science fantasy. I don't need to know exactly the nuances and the technical details of how this thing works. Were there a few things that I would have liked to have seen them, like, maybe say more about? Sure. Were there things I wish they could have given us more details about? Sure. But you know what? I didn't mind Starkiller Base. I mean, not like some people. There are a lot of themes though, like going and blowing up Starkiller Base, X-wings versus Tie fighters. We don't really see a lot of other vehicles or other big spaceships. I will say that there is a scene where in which you first get introduced to Han Solo and Chewie in this film. When the reveal for Han Solo and Chewie happens, they have their own ship and they're transporting these big alien creatures that are like freaking, I don't know. It felt like Men in Black a little bit Men in Blacky with the type of creatures that they were hauling around. I thought the whole sequence of them on Han Solo's ship probably could have been different. I feel like they should have done things a little bit differently with that. I know that it was trying to set up the fact that Han Solo has been back in the smuggling business for a while. Like, I get that. But I just thought the scene was a little, I don't know. I felt like it was a little out of place. And, yeah, I felt that scene was a little out of place. However, though, the rest of the film I thought was really great. Daisy does a really great job playing Rey. I thought she's an amazing actress, and that's a really interesting character that I want to see more of. Poe, I know he wasn't in the film a lot, but, I mean, he's a great new character that they have introduced, and I hope to see more of him as these films continue to come out, because Poe just really, he got to me, man. Like, that was a fun character. Like, at the very beginning where Kylo Ren captures him at the very beginning of the film, and he goes, who's gonna talk first? You gonna talk first, or I have to talk first? That whole sequence kind of broke the mold a little bit for Star Wars dialogue. I mean, it wasn't really something that we've seen before, that kind of humorous banter of a character to a villain where he's kind of showing how not afraid he is, or, you know, putting on a not afraid face, even though he might have been. We don't know yet, because, you know, we're still getting used to these new characters, but I thought that was such a great moment. I thought the fact that we had an emotional young villain who is still new at being bad. He's very much still like the early days of Anakin being kind of evil and bad. You know, he's still got that reckless mindset and emotion and getting angry when things don't go his way and not knowing how to handle it. Kind of like a troubled youth. You know, he's very much a troubled youth. And I like how they portrayed some of that stuff, especially the scene where he's whacking stuff in a room and the stormtroopers come around the corner and then they go, nope, and kind of just turn back around and walk around the corner so that they don't have to get involved with that. You know, I really liked a lot of the pacing of the film. I loved Harrison Ford's performance. I thought the interactions between him and Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia, or General Organa, I guess, General Leia, were really good. I think Harrison brought a new element to the Solo character, and I think the death of Han Solo. Again, if you guys are watching this, and you shouldn't be, sorry, but Han Solo dies. The death of Han Solo was to use poor word choices, was executed well. Like, the way that they did that scene, I thought was appropriate. I mean, there's any number of ways that they could have gone with things with this film, to be fair, but I think Star Wars: The Force Awakens was it felt like a real sequel, and it is hands down better than the prequels. The prequels felt all over the place with a lot of stuff. There was just a lot of things going on. And I think as the prequels went on, they kind of slowed things down and let you to digest some of the plot a little bit more and some of the understanding of things. Which is why, even though I don't really like the prequels as much, Episode 3 is definitely the better of those. I think you get to understand Palpatine a little bit better. So having said all of that, I'm not sure who Darth Plagueis is, or I mean who... I don't know who Supreme Leader Snoke is. Some people are saying that he's Darth Plagueis reincarnate. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. We'll have to see what happens. I thought the Luke reveal was really good. Um, it would have been nice to see more than just X-Wings. I would have liked to have seen maybe an A-Wing, a B-Wing, or a Y-Wing in there. Maybe some new kind of TIE fighter. Although we did get a new kind of TIE fighter. We got the two-seater TIE fighter, where you got the front seat and the back seat. The rear gunner TIE fighters. That was definitely different. Um, so we did get a new TIE fighter, even though it looked like the old TIE fighters. It was new in concept and internal design. I guess it would have been then that those TIE fighters are a little bit bigger too, because they fit two people in them. Although it would have been nice to see some interceptors, because I love TIE interceptors. I love TIE defenders, even though TIE defenders are EU. So yeah. Overall, I think The Force Awakens was a good step in the right direction. It's not without its criticisms, though. I definitely do have some reservations about some things that happen, but I'm willing to ignore it. I'm willing to ignore it because when you really look back at just a film perspective, like I said, if you put off everything that has ever been done Star Wars outside of the films, put away the video games, put away the comic books, put away the books, put it all away, and when you just look at it from purely a film perspective, there was things in episodes 4 through 6 that they didn't fully explain on certain things. There's a lot of things that they don't necessarily tell you. Do I think 4 through 6 are still better films than 7? Yeah. Do I think Empire is still my favorite Star Wars movie? Yeah. But I definitely love 7. There's definitely a lot to love about 7. There was a lot of things that were interesting about 7. It's 30 years of politics that they had to fit into this movie, more or less, to try and tell you what has happened, and they can't tell you everything, right? There's so much that they can't tell you about what happened from the end of Jedi to the beginning of The Force Awakens. There's just not everything can be told, but we get enough to get us curious about the rest of the stuff that happened. What caused Snoke to seduce Kylo, or Ben Solo, I guess is who his real name is. What caused Ben to want to go with Snoke? Why did he betray Luke and Luke's followers that Luke was trying to build up? Why did he do that? There's also Rey. Who is Rey? We still don't know. A lot of people speculate that it is Luke's son. Well, our son. Woo! It was Luke's daughter. So the expanding universe, Luke had a son instead who was named Ben. That's why it's kind of a little whoa. But who was Luke's partner? Who did he get with to produce Rey, if that's the case? So if that's the case, who was that? We got to find out who that is. And if not, then who is she and what is her relation? Because a lot of people are speculating that they have to be related somehow. I don't necessarily think that it has to be that way. I'm not entirely sure I understand Finn's character yet either. They said that he was taken, he said something about being taken as a young child into the military service. So that's the only life that he's known is this, and this was his first fight was in this, whatever. So I don't know, because they talk about clones or something like that at one point. I didn't quite catch the clone thing. I've only seen one viewing of this. So the clone thing is still kind of, I'm not sure. I don't remember. I would really, I know we don't see too many African Americans in the other Star Wars movies, right? We don't see too many other black people, and that's unfortunate, but I'm glad that they're bringing more into the fold. I like the idea of a female lead in this new one. But back to Finn, the reason why I say Finn is really the only black guy that we've ever known from 4 through 6 that could be related to Finn is Lando. So, is it Lando's kid that was taken at a young age? Maybe. Maybe, we don't know. I would love to see something hinted at with Lando again. I would love to see them hint at Wedge Antilles, for crying out loud. The only secondary character to be in all 3 of those films, 4 through 6. It's just he was he wasn't a main member of the cast, but you saw him in all of those films doing stuff. And so it'd be nice to see if maybe there's a character that's related to Wedge somehow. I'd like to see that more. So only the future can tell how this will go, especially the whole Rey and Luke Skywalker thing. I'm looking forward to seeing more of Mark Hamill. I think he looked great at the end. He got paid so much money for showing up at the end, and I think it's great. I'm looking forward to a wise old sage Luke Skywalker. I think that's going to be great. Guys, if there's anything I missed, let us know in the comments. Let's talk about it. I mean, everybody's got their own opinion. Did you like it? Did you didn't like it? Why didn't you like it? I want to hear. I think it's great that we can have these kind of discussions. I personally went into it a little apprehensive, but I came out with it going, for the task that was set before J.J. Abrams and team, they had to please so many people. Really old fans that have been around since 1977 watching this stuff, to semi-old fans like myself who've been around since, post-Jedi, like just post-Jedi to way before the prequels showed up. So I grew up in the wake of Star Wars, growing up watching the original stuff before the special edition. So I've got, that ingrained in my mind. And then you got like the newer generation. There's a whole generation of people out there that love the prequels. Good on ya. I don't, but whatever. Some people aren't going to like these new ones. Alright. Let us know why though. Let's talk about it. Let us know in the comments below. Guys, this has been our Star Wars episode. And if you like it, like, comment, subscribe, give us a shout out, share it with your friends, get the word out. PlayLegit.net is here to stay. This has been Level Start. You guys have a great one. See you next month. Enjoy the holiday.